Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and a link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below the video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show increases the live audience, of course, and this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Arwin, Spurs Chemo, and Sleeping Warrior. How are you all doing, gentlemen?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, guys.
Good
All
afternoon.
is well. All is well.
Yeah,
Excellent.
doing good. And warm. Very warm.
Yeah, it's
here.
nice. Beautiful day here. So just before we started on air, Spurs was informing me that there's been a bit of a change in the tone of Flat Earth Debate at the moment that's off this platform. So the general Flat Earth Debate, is that correct, Spurs?
Yeah, there's that kind of feeling behind it now, on the back of what what you've been doing, or I wouldn't say pushing, but I would say the idea that we've been trying to portray, that the scientific method has a certain criteria that everybody should follow, and it seems now slowly but surely the ball earthers, the fence sitters, are coming to the understanding that they have to follow a certain procedure. That is the scientific method. So I think what I was alluding to is the regular people who discuss this now. I find are more reluctant now to actually engage in the topic because they are forced to use science. This is a problem, I think, for them. So yeah.
I mean, I phrase it slightly differently. I don't think everybody has to adhere to the scientific method. I think that the people who claim science is behind them are the ballers. They say that the entire body of science has backed this claim that we are on a ball for the last 2,000 plus years. So therefore, in that time, there must be something that could class as scientific evidence to prove that we live on a ball. And there isn't. So I've had a few people in comments that say, where's your scientific evidence? And I have to point out to them, I'm a YouTuber. I'm not a scientist. I make videos on YouTube. And I've been doing it for about 3 years on the subject of flat Earth. And I'll repeat it. You, whoever you are, commenter in chat or person on panel who believes the Earth is a ball, have had 2,000 years of assumption about your spinning ball religion. And apparently the people who are behind this assumption are scientists. They're the ones that need to be asked. Now, I'm not going to ask them because they're not on my side. If you ask them about flat Earth, they'd tell you, of course it's a globe. Assuming that they assume everything they assume. As simple as that. Whereas, me, I've got no one backing me. I've got YouTube kind of backing me making videos. That's it. So to level the same requirement at our doorstep? No. I haven't had 2,000 years of scientific understanding behind me. I haven't got any understanding from science behind flat Earth. There is no flat Earth science. So why would you ask a scientist about flat Earth? What I ask the people on the panel for is go out and gather up any data from any source you like. You personally, whoever I'm asking, doesn't have to do a damn thing. You don't have to perform any experiments. You don't have to do anything going forward. You just have to gather up what the more experienced, the wise people, the scientists, of course, they're the arbiters of all knowledge. So therefore, go and ask them what they've got. And you'll quickly find they haven't got anything. Nothing proves we're on a spinning ball flying through space at all. You've got models and presuppositions, and that's it.
We don't even have models anymore either. But I don't know if you're aware. Cathexis asked,
the Rumpus and Jeremy what was this so-called model. He wanted to use it to be able to debate and discuss things with flat earthers. And it turns out that they don't actually have a model. They have constructs of model, so they have snippets of models. And it's all based on basically rhetoric. It's all based on scientific consensus that's not that scientific, but is a consensus. But there is no actual model. Yet they all cite it and laugh at us because we don't have one. And it's like, well, when push comes to shove, you guys don't even have one either. So let's knock that one on the bud. We're not going to be accepting that criticism in future.
So Paul Voigt in the chat says, "You don't know whether or not you can. We don't know whether or not you can determine what is and isn't scientific evidence." To paraphrase what he puts, "You come on and present it, Paul. We'll rip it in, you asshole."
Maybe you could come on and present evidence to support your assertion that the iron core of the Earth is made of molten.
So again, this is again one of the misconceptions or another problem that people like Paul are pushing, that the whole idea of science can only be done by people in white coats, or so to speak. Science can be done by anyone, from your granny to a teenager, to anybody who is capable of conducting an experiment. Okay, so you don't need any particular degrees to observe, to test, and to demonstrate what you have, whatever the things you are observing. So again, this idea that you need to be intelligent, you need to have a certain understanding of science, and we're talking about science here. This is where Paul, you're incorrect. It's not about he doesn't understand, or anybody can do science. Yes, that's what science is. That's why science is supposed to be so beautiful. That is the beauty of science, is that anybody can do it. Okay, Anthony.
Oh, anyone can check if something is true. They can prove or disprove it using a scientific method. It's actually finding new things and then proving them. That's the difficult part.
Well, I agree that you don't need to be wearing a white coat to be a scientist, because although we should all have the basic understanding of the scientific method, the reality is it's not that difficult to work out when you have the flow diagram showing you the process. Now, I think Nathan must have the piece of paper next to him when he has this conversation with numerous ballers.
Nope.
I never have anything next to me, and I would give way to Nathan on it because I don't know how he does it.
I don't actually have anything next to me. I'm very fortunate. I will tell you why. Because I'm lucky enough to have John, Quantum Eraser, go over it with me time and time again. And he's drilled it into me, basically. And I've asked him to. He explained it to me the first time. And I've watched him do Cathexis' show. And I've had him explain it on various other, platforms before. But it's never sunk in. And he said, well, let's get it to sink in then. I said, well, you need to tell me 10 times. And keep explaining where I've got wrong, what misapprehensions I've got, where I don't understand it. And I was just honest and said, I don't understand this aspect of it, explain it to me again. And I've done that over and over again until I've eventually just got the drift of it. I'd say I'm about 80% there. I'm not by any stretch of the imagination an expert on the scientific method, far from it. But I've got a bare bones understanding, and with just a bare bones understanding, I can see that all of the globe arguments fall apart on presuppositions, or having multiple variables, not isolating causes. All of these things that they do, they've just got stories. They make an observation, and then they make up a little story. That's all they do. Hello, Nummy Num. Good to have you.
Hello.
Hello.
Can I share something that I learnt with Ruhif yesterday or the day before? Basically, it was a really, really lovely day. And I was out on the beach with the camera, just messing around, seeing what I could see on the horizon. And I was trying to work out what boats I was looking at, because I couldn't tell whether they were big boats that were far away or they were small boats that were close to us. Because of the way that the boats were, they looked like they were carrying cargoes, and they looked like they were cranes, or they looked like at least that they had some significant structure on them. So I spoke with Ranty and I spoke with Ruhif. And we were working out what boats I was looking at, because I thought I was looking about 10 miles away. Turns out that the infamous ferry called, what was that one that Ranty got? What's it called now?
Bivy Wave Master.
No, the other one.
Hi, Brenda.
Can
you say hello?
Hello. Yes, hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
There was a particular boat, and it wasn't the Bibby Wave Master. It was one that was very much like that. And Ruhif said, this particular boat's on its way up from the south. Why don't you go to the top cliff and see if you can see it?
Hibernia.
Pardon?
Stena Hibernia.
Yes, that was the one, the Stena Hibernia. Now, it's a really big cargo ship, right? It's a big passenger ship that carries cargo and passengers. And he basically said, go up and see if you can see it. And I thought, I should be able to see that if I can see the other two, because one's going to pass from the left and pass both of them and pass to the right. But it was a little bit further back. So he said, and it wasn't a challenge me in terms of, let's see if you can do it because you're a flat earther. It was just a case of, can you see it? So it was a task, and I knew specifically what I was looking for because I'm familiar with the particular boat. So I was like, I'm happy to go and do that. So I did. I went up to the top of the cliff. I went up to the top of the cliff or the top of the hill and got armed with the P900, and I knew roughly what direction it was going to be in. And I was scanning up and down the horizon and scanning and scanning and scanning, and I could not see this boat for love nor money. But I knew it was there because it was coming up on tracker. And obviously Ruif had showed me, and I was with him. I was like, yeah, it's definitely coming. I'll go and see that. I'm sure I will. Anyway, I went up there with the camera, and basically what I want to share, Nath, if it's all right, is the picture that I took. Now, you often hear people saying things like, why can't you see the Eiffel Tower from New York? And things like that. And that's like, it's obviously one of those positions where we all know that it's nonsense, but we also realize that ultimately,
Why is that nonsense?
well, I'm just about to address it because there are things that stop us from seeing. If the Earth were flat, you wouldn't expect to see indefinitely anyway, because of the effects of convergence with the horizon. Things that get further away get smaller. How much further away does something need to get before it gets that small?
Yeah, but you can bring that back with the camera.
Of course, and that is, of course, the position that we were trying to do. We were trying to see whether or not we could achieve this, and that was what the.
So if you have a strong enough,
Jamie.
so
I think Jamie's trying to speak. Sorry.
No, I don't think he is. That's one of. Is he a real person? Him?
Yeah, he just said hello, I think, but you didn't hear him.
That's Chris.
It is, as far as I know, that's Chris.
Oh, I don't know. I just heard a hello. That was all. Very vague.
Anthony, why don't you finish what you were saying? That was interesting.
Yeah, if you just present me, Nate, so that people can see me. And if in the chat, if you want to click my link, you should see my screen share, which is the wrong screen share. Let me just get the other window. Application window. It's the one. For some reason, my photos window isn't appearing. I'll have to do it on the entire screen. There it is. Right, just keep an eye on the back door for me while I do this.
I am.
It's going to go full screen. And basically, this is the picture that I didn't get this at the time. I didn't spot it at the time. It was only when I came back onto the computer later on I got it. This is the Stena Hibernia, but as you can see, it's not that it's far away because it's obviously big enough to see, but the effect of the atmosphere on us means that you can't pick it out easily. And I had to play around with the levels to pick this out of the image. But the effect of the
I don't see anything.
That's okay. But effectively, the position is that even if the Earth were indeed flat, you wouldn't expect to be able to see Paris from like New York because it'd be far too far, too small, and we have moisture in the atmosphere that stops us from seeing so far. And the further into the atmosphere you're looking, it means that the reality you're looking through more water, and that water eventually dirties out what you're trying to see. You can't see it anymore. So the idea of looking to see the Eiffel Tower from New York's nonsense because there are obstructions in our atmosphere, namely the atmosphere, that
so there's no limit to how far you could see.
That's just the opposite of what he's just said.
Here we go again.
So yeah, this is where we get Chris, who isn't permitted to join because he didn't want the show to be in existence in the first place, joining to disturb it. Just a complete wanker.
So what I hear Riley saying is that there's no limit to how far we could see, except for moisture in the atmosphere.
Why did you hear that? What part of my explanation made you think that's what I said?
You said that we could see, for instance, Paris, if it wasn't for the moisture in the atmosphere.
Hey, Ranty.
Hey, Ranty.
Right?
No, that wasn't what I said, Brenda. You need to take the cloth out your
Well,
ear.
maybe you could repeat it then, please.
I was saying that you can't see indefinitely in the atmosphere, even if the Earth turns out to be flat. because the atmosphere itself has the effect of limiting your distance that you can see, the visibility, because of the moisture that's in the atmosphere.
Yeah, that's what I just said. That's what I just said, Riley. I'm agreeing with you.
That didn't sound like you were agreeing with me. It sounded like you said that I said there was no limit to what we should see on a flat plane.
Well, yeah, yes, that's what you just said.
That's
the
not
opposite of
said.
what he
You
just
said
said.
you could
That's literally
see-
the complete opposite of what he just said, Brenda. I don't get it. Why are you now asserting the total opposite of what he just said?
Well, it's not the opposite of what he said. He said you could see Paris if it wasn't
That's
for
not what he
moisture
said.
in the
That's
atmosphere.
not what he said at all.
That isn't what I said.
Brenda, I think that the heat may be causing some hallucinations on your account.
Is this like the scenario where you saw the word gravity in the top line
You
of
think-
that document that
Do you
wasn't
think
there?
you could? Why can't you see Paris, Riley?
He just literally got through explaining that, literally with a demonstration of a ship that's obscured by atmospheric effects, right? He's just literally got through explaining it. You are quite clearly deaf. I don't get it. What's your problem? He's
Yes,
just
I
literally
understand.
explained
If
it to
wasn't,
you. I don't get it, Brenda. I really don't get it.
We need to find a way to stop that from happening or control that.
Ugh, I don't know what to do about Chris. Just one individual.
So
Yes,
what you're saying, Riley, is that if it were not for the moisture in the atmosphere, you could see Paris.
No, that isn't what I said. I said even if the Earth turned out to be flat, there are other reasons why you couldn't see indefinitely. And at the time, I was thinking about Jeremy's words, because Jeremy was quoted as saying that there would be no obstructions on a flat plane. Well, there clearly are obstructions, regardless of whether or not you believe that we're
Yes.
on a ball or on a
But
flat.
if you didn't have those obstructions,
The further something gets away from you, the smaller it becomes. Do you
well,
think it's probable
that you can bring back with a telescope, right?
Well, in theory, Paul Voigt claims that with a clear enough day, with a powerful enough zoom and a bit of Paul's maths, you could see your own ass in a telescope. We all
On
laughed
a
at him for
sphere.
saying that.
On a
but it's-
sphere.
Well, he's right. He's right
On a
about
sphere.
that. But
On a sphere. So he claims you can see your own arse on a sphere thanks to non-standard refraction.
okay, fine.
So
He's a
you guys claim you can see indefinitely, Brenda. Don't twist Anthony's words. You guys think you can see forever on a sphere thanks to refraction. That's your claim.
That's what Anthony said. Anthony.
Oh, no, that's not what Anthony said. He said you can't see indefinitely because of atmospheric conditions, and then he demonstrated it, right? Conversely, the globers think you can see around the entire sphere with a strong enough telescope, a clear enough day, and enough zoom, right? That's not our position. That's your ridiculous position.
Brandon, did you actually listen to what I said?
Oh.
Yes, you said that the reason we can't see Paris is because of atmospheric conditions, right?
Not the only reason.
Yeah,
One of
there's-
them.
there's
Also,
also
the angular
the-
size issue as well. I mean, eventually a house will look
Well,
the size
There's
of
also
a
the
brick,
sorry.
you know.
Yes, but
And it
that
doesn't
condition,
matter how big your telescope is. You're not going to bring a brick back from miles.
I didn't misquote you. You said that atmospheric conditions prevent you from seeing Paris, right?
Indeed.
No. I said one of the reasons that you can't see
Yes, Yes,
infinitely.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand that.
He didn't declare it to be exclusive. Okay?
No, I didn't declare it to be exclusive. Well said, Arwin.
So the reason you can't see Paris is because of atmospheric conditions and because of convergence of perspective, right?
Also, the refraction zone. That's universal. There's
Yeah,
still the slight.
There's no such thing as
If an
refraction
object
zone.
were extremely high, say 100 miles high, then yes, it could actually be seen on the other side of the Earth, because the slant causes you to see pretty much indefinitely. But yeah, the further away you go, the higher up the vanishing zone will be. But on
But
a ball,
Riley-
you could never do that.
What Riley said is that the reason you can't see Paris is because of convergence due to perspective and atmospheric
No,
moisture
it isn't,
in the air. That's literally what he said, right?
No, it isn't literally. You are trying to make an
Well, then-
exclusive statement
then
out of
please
what I
repeat.
said.
So, okay, so I'm wrong, right?
Now you're asserting exclusivity where Riley did not.
No, I'd like to hear from Riley. I'm wrong, correct?
Correct.
So it is not the case that the reason you can't see Paris is because of convergence due to perspective and moisture in the atmosphere. Is that correct?
What is correct is that I made a point about the visibility in the atmosphere that somehow you've conflated into something
But
completely
why
different
can't-
from what was said.
Well, then, in your own words.
Would you like me to do it for you again,
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes, please.
Right.
Well, hang on. Can I just say something? I think Anthony was showing the boat, and he was showing how the atmospheric conditions were kind of bleaching the boat out in the atmosphere. He could make it out. He could see the boat's structure, but he couldn't actually see the boat with his real eyes. He had to use a camera for that. And also the conditions were making it very difficult to even identify something that he should be able to see relatively easily.
Hey, Alibi.
Yeah, due to moisture in the air.
Yes, in the atmospheric conditions, yeah.
Yes. And
that's not the real alibi. Well done, boys.
Whoever it was took
We've
out
lost Brenda.
To be honest, it's not a big deal. I empathise that she was removed. However, she was totally misquoting what I was saying. I didn't say that's the only reason.
Anthony. Don't worry about it. Carry on as you were, like she was still here and you were explaining. The audience is still here, still 120 people watching you.
Oh, I've just got rid of it. Right, I'll do. Right, hang on. Let me work out where it went. It's in. I'll have to. Let me just knock it off screen share while I go looking for it because I can't remember what it's. Oh no, I know where it is. I know where it is. Right, there we go. So this is the pitch. Basically, Ruif had told me this boat was here, and he said, "Go and see if you can see it." Now, I was totally expecting to see this big shining white thing, massive military armor thing, knight in shining armor. When I got up there, it wasn't even there. Couldn't see it, and I was panning up and down the horizon, looking for it. I just could not see it. Now, it was about 4 miles further back, maybe 3 miles further back. I don't know the exact distance further back. I'm not really interested. What I was most interested about was there any curvature and was it being obscured? Now, forget about the curve arguments. The point I'm making is that our own atmosphere is a limiting factor. Now, however far this is between me and Isle of Man. Now, I know that we've seen the Mackle Lighthouse which was on the Isle of Man, and this is about halfway between the two. So whether it's like the Mackle Lighthouse at 30 miles away or this boat halfway in between the two, obviously it's closer, couldn't even see it. It just wasn't there. It was just completely invisible. And now when I get the camera and I go through the imagery, play around with the levels, I see what looks like a ghost ship. And I know I can identify by its shape that it's the boat. So the idea that we could potentially see as far as is it 4,000 miles from New York to Paris? You're not going to be able to see through that amount of atmosphere because of the moisture content in the water, even if the Earth were flat. And for the sake of Brenda, that's not the only reason. But that's my point. You can some days you see really, really clear. The point I made on the original video was that it was actually a very clear day, and this particular day wasn't a particularly clear day, even though the weather was glorious. You can see all the sun reflecting on the waves. Well, this particular day was a lovely day. It wasn't a good day in terms of visibility. It was really bad. So really, it's not really about the quality of the weather. It's more about visibility.
I think they already know this. I think they know the issues that we have, which is the weather conditions, the vanishing zone, and obviously the angular size difference. They know that a house will eventually look the size of a brick from 40 miles away. So you're never going to be able to bring that back with the technology that we have right now. So it's, they know this argument. We know their argument about refraction.
Sorry, Arwin said he wanted the mic for a couple of minutes, if you don't mind.
Yeah, guys. I was thinking about. You guys need to watch the back chat and everything now. I was thinking about gyroscopes earlier, and I think it was Rumpus who said that there was actually footage of people that did use regular gyroscopes and said that in that footage they did tilt when they traveled over land. And I would like to point out a slight detail about that, and that is it can be tampered with. The only way to really make sure that a gyroscope test when traveling over land or even over sea is really genuine is if you have an air bubble thing. Sorry, I don't know the official name of it, to actually prove that the device is standing up perfectly straight. Because you can just park your truck slightly on a hill, and then the gyroscope will look turned, and yeah, if you have no reference to what the angle of the objects you're standing on is, then yeah, you could pretty easily falsify it. So to really prove whether gyroscopes will indeed turn as you move over the Earth, you will have to also present, while showing the gyroscope, an air bubble perfectly centered, proving that you are indeed, that the gyroscope is indeed standing perfectly level. And I think that that is probably how some pretty ingenuine people proved curvature using gyroscope as it looked tilted by just parking up a hill. Just a little detail I thought about. What do you think?
Click that eject button in the top right there, Nathan. You've got it in the top right. It's still there, presenting. No, the top right, you've got the blue part. There you go.
But guys, did you get my point?
Sorry, I had a hard time paying attention with this.
Yeah, I did too, to be fair.
Yeah, to be honest, it's that distracting. I think if we can't think of a way around to fix that, we might have to make it an echo chamber, all because of one particular person. And if that's the way it has to be, that one person manages to get it all to be in such a way. I mean, is there any other way of doing this? I mean, Nathan, it might be time to do Discord.
Well, I don't understand the Gem Panda comment that he said that obviously whoever's doing it is doing a very good job.
Yeah, because this is the best they've got. They haven't got any arguments. They haven't got any proof that we live on a spinning ball. We are obliterating their arguments. That's the end of it. So the best they can do is join and play little jingles, because that's all you've got, boys. If you have got better, join, because all Gem's doing, Gem, who apparently is a globe believer, is encouraging this. Great job, he's saying. Really? Well, join and do better. Come and present some actual evidence that you've got a sphere, Gem, rather than encouraging a guy who's just disrupting it. So disrupting us, obliterating your religion, my friend. That's all that's happening here. Maybe he'll tucker himself out after a little while, the pathetic little twat.
But guys, yeah, I hope some of you heard my point. It was basically how I think that some very ingenuine people had probably falsified the gyroscope test by basically parking up a hill. So the only way to really genuinely show that you are being honestly representing the gyroscope being actually straight and not parked on a hill is by representing the gyroscope next to an air bubble system, perfectly centered. Do you agree to that?
Not sure exactly what you mean by parked on a hill.
Well, if you're the thing is, they take a gyroscope, they spin it up, they take it in their truck, they film it, then they go somewhere else and they say, look, I traveled this far, look, it's now tilted. But they could just be filming it while their truck, in which the gyroscope is sitting, is parked up a hill. So the truck is then standing at an angle, making it appear like the gyroscope has turned, but it's not. The truck is actually the thing. And the only way to then prove that it's not standing on a hill or at an angle is with an air bubble, showing that it's actually standing straight up.
Nice, just check the message.
Can you guys hear me at all?
Yeah, we can hear you, but the problem we're having is that it is quite distracting having this guy joining.
I'm not quite understanding the relevance. Like, what video are you talking about in particular?
No, I was mentioning, well, Rumpus suggested that there have been videos of people using gyroscopes traveling and then showing that it was actually tilted.
Oh, okay.
And now this is a way to basically prevent falsification by demanding that an air bubble is included in the video.
There is another way we can deal with this. If we can get people to join for the sake of joining, just to stop this one particular person destroying it, just speak so we know that you're not a troll, but just join for the sake of joining, and then we won't go to join. That's another way to deal with it.
Just to fill the spot. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's going to be a lot of people.
No, it doesn't matter.
We need in here for that.
And then we'll blame it on Chris. We'll blame it on that one person.
So,
Yeah,
but
that is the
Nami,
way
did you
around
get
it.
my
You're
point?
right, Anthony. That is the way around it.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying now.
And I'm also like, if I'm going to be traveling and using the gyroscope, I'm going to then also take the air bubble system with me to prevent that type of misinterpretation.
So Ruhif, does this not embarrass you? Knowing that Chris is doing this and he's supposed to be a friend of yours? Is this not embarrassing for you guys?
Right, I've got a message saying that Flat as Fluke is coming in. Don't kick that person because it's friendly. That takes up one space. Marzalai Davis, keep that one in. I recognise that address. Keep Marzalai, keep Adam Meekin.
Yeah, that's
Hi,
definitely
Adam.
Adam. You might just be joining to fill the space.
Yeah, that's exactly. I'm busy digging in the garden, but I thought I'd come fill the space and carry on listening.
You're a good one.
All right, guys.
Same for Miles Delia Davis. I recognise that account as well, so keep that one muted. That one can stay.
I'm going to mute anyway, so...
Good man. So we've got a full panel now, haven't we?
Yeah, I think so. I think we might have one gap.
Cool.
Now, the only downside is the open hangout isn't actually open anymore because we've had to control the lunatic. The one person.
He must have been beaten up as a child.
There's another one.
That's not the real one.
Must have been beaten up as a child.
Yeah, one gap left.
Is Black? Who's that?
No.
Nope. Speaking of Miles Delia Davis, where is he? I haven't seen him around for a while.
I think he's secretly a flat earther now.
He's repenting.
Relly, hello.
So where were we?
We was on about your boat.
I think we're sorted.
Yeah.
We've got 10 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, excellent. Normal conversation can resume. Happy days.
Yeah. So, Arwin, do you want to tell us what you were saying? Now we can hear you.
Yeah, now I can actually pay attention to you, Arwin.
Okay. Well, again, it's just... Oh, somebody dropped again. It was about the detail of gyroscopes, and if I remember correctly, it was Rumpus that suggested there were videos around of people having their gyroscopes, moving them. Hey, is that the?
Hello,
yeah, that's the
hello.
real one.
That's the real
Yeah,
Chocolate
yeah.
Assassin, or whatever it's
Hey,
called.
Chocolate
Sorry.
saying.
Chocolate saying,
Okay.
that's it.
Now it's a full panel.
Excellent.
Basically, the Rumpus suggested that there were videos out there of people going around with gyroscopes and then showing those gyroscopes to be, not perfectly straight as they started out. But this can be falsified pretty easily by simply dishonestly parking or placing the gyroscope on an angle, basically on a hill, making it appear like it has turned, because people can do that if they really want to. And the only way to actually prove that it is standing up straight is by using an air bubble system and showing that in the video. And that will prevent any misunderstanding or any tampering with the experiment.
Well, we were just talking yesterday about the Coriolis effect and how prior to, you know, all these new inventions, etc., and this, that, and the other, it was never taken into account. You know, Coriolis effect was never taken into account when doing early planes and stuff like this.
It still isn't taken into account in planes.
Exactly. And you've got to ask yourself why, because they travel at, what, 30,000 feet? So we're told that the atmosphere gets less up there, and that doesn't travel the same as it does the atmosphere on the ground. This is their explanation.
Yeah.
So technically, if you're in a plane doing 30,000 feet, then the Coriolis effect should have some kind of effect on your speeds and time of reaching destinations, etc.
I think what's going on there is that there is no Coriolis effect.
Paul Voigt is getting really dishonest here in chat. He's actually falling back on the concept that pendulous vanes actually do correct for the altitude gyroscopes.
Well, they might do now, but
an entire
let's say
that it's not.
Let's say that that's what their intentions are to do now. Let's just say this. But prior to the World War II, they weren't even invented. So how did they get around that then?
Do you understand the reason why they were invented?
Yeah, they were invented to help correct the gyroscope instability when subjected to extreme forces like sudden turns or sudden extreme accelerations. Has nothing to do with a standard auto correction for gravity, and gravity was not mentioned in the manual for a purpose of its design.
Yeah,
so that's totally dishonest.
Ruhif's chatting from the sidelines.
Totally
I would like to
dishonest.
answer his question though. So Ruhif said, wouldn't a cage resolve the problem? You're supposed to cage it when you're on the ground. How are you referencing anything when you cage it if you cage it in midair?
I'd imagine that you check that your altimeter is not moving, and then you assume you're going straight and level flight.
But straight and level flight according to what?
According to the altimeter.
Right. But that could also be out, couldn't it?
It could.
Right. So that's why you cage it when you're on the ground?
Yeah. But
Right, so
you
you
can
don't
still
cage
correct an
a
error.
gyroscope in midair.
It would still theoretically correct it, right?
Right, but I'm saying you can't cage a gyro in midair. You're not referencing it to anything. You're referencing it to other instruments as opposed to the ground.
Yeah. That's fine.
Well, no, but that's not what they do. No one cages their gyro midair.
I have no idea what they do. I'm just suggesting a possible solution to it.
Well, they cage it on the ground. Caging
But
is
they can also
resetting the
cage it, yeah.
gyro. For anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, there's a little mechanism that you can push in that literally physically resets the position of the gyroscope so that it is completely level before it's spinning. So you can physically align the gyro to the ground that you are stood on. But to cage it in midair, you don't know what you're referencing, so you don't know that you've caged it correctly.
Yeah, I think that's maybe in some cases they, like an emergency, they might eyeball it based on looking at the horizon.
Fair enough.
Like if the thing tumbles, I think I just may have read that. Like if the thing tumbles completely over, that there is some sort of emergency caging maneuver that you just use visual references for, but far less than ideal for sure.
I stand corrected,
Yeah,
Ruhif.
Yeah, if you're going like 500 miles and you're, 7 degrees out, you'd see that on the gyro. You'd see your altimeter not moving. You cage it to that, I reckon.
But I don't think that's like a standard procedure or anything. It's just like...
Well, it may have been like 80 years ago, right?
Sure, but you're not going to get a very... it's not going to be... You're going to lose a lot of accuracy that way as well.
Yeah,
sure.
well, that's why they invented the pendulous vane system,
Yeah.
Correct.
to correct that type of faults. That's only caused by extreme maneuvering. So
Yeah, it's caused by centrifugal forces due to turning.
yes, and extreme acceleration also.
Yeah, specifically when coming into land, when they're in a holding pattern and they're doing very tight maneuvers to keep in that holding pattern.
So the gyroscope's supposed to be pointed at the horizon at every opportunity, is that right?
Well, it's supposed to be a representation of the artificial horizon is supposed to be a representation of the plane's relationship to the true horizon.
Right. You see, well, when I was flying the old planes, the bulldogs and the chipmunks and things, we had the gyroscope we had, which was like the crosshairs type. We always had to point that at the horizon, what we assumed was the horizon. Well, you know, we didn't have any electronic stuff that was telling us how to do it. We had to do it physically.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you was in a plane doing 30,000 feet and you had that same technology, if you was pointing it at the horizon, you would actually be in a dive.
Yeah.
If you lived on a ball.
Yeah, you would, because you're the horizon at well, if you're at 40,000 feet, the horizon supposedly should be about 250 miles away. So whatever that drop is, you'd have to take that into consideration.
Yeah, but if you was to aim up the crosshairs on that, then you would effectively be going down. If you was on a ball, you'd actually be heading towards the Earth rather than flying straight.
Right. Well, this is the argument, right? That the plane, if it was just flying straight and level, wouldn't be flying towards the horizon. It would be flying towards space. There'd be that gap between the plane and the ground would be continually growing.
Which is why when you actually do set it to the horizon, you have never actually hit the ground. You always fly in a nice level.
Right. Well, the fact that you could cage the gyroscope in an emergency based on the visual horizon is good. Points to the idea that the Earth is actually flat, not round. Like if the Earth was round, you'd have no hope of finding any kind of orientation based on apparent visual information.
I just don't want to leave it out there like it's something that is common that gyros get caged in midair, because it just isn't.
Yeah, they don't need to be anymore.
Yeah, thanks to pendulous vanes, correct.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But I don't think they ever were. I don't think
about...
anybody was ever caging their gyro mid-flight unless it was like Numi says, an emergency. I mean, I've never seen a reference to it at all. So, you know, if Numi says there is one, great, I'd like to see it.
You know what? I think there's one. I'm not 100% sure, but
I've certainly never seen one.
Information in front of me. You might be right, Nathan. I'm just trying to be fair to the evidence.
We're talking about a period of time between what 20 and 1940, right?
Yeah.
No, like between 1910 and 1940. Like 1900.
What was the range, though? What was the range on flights between 1910 and 1920?
Well, when was the first transatlantic flight? 1923.
I don't know. There you go. So between 1920 and 1940.
Right, but I mean, I think that the range before the transatlantic flights would have still required.
Hang on, I've just had a thought. Forgive me for interrupting, but if you think about it, if we are actually on a ball, the ability to cage mid-flight would be technically impossible.
Yeah,
because you are on a continuous tangent from the ball. You would never ever be parallel.
That's just what I wanted to say. It would be completely useless to cage because you would have to re-cage it constantly as you fly in a straight line at a constant speed. It's ridiculous.
No, it would have changed by 1 degree every 70 miles or something, isn't it?
Yeah, but the point is,
but exactly, this is the flat Earth argument, isn't it? That the gyro would be 1 degree off, right?
Yeah.
It isn't. That's the problem for you guys. That's the whole point.
Yeah, but you can see your altimeter moving as well.
Yeah, but your altimeter is not going to give you, not going to tell you if you're straight and level.
Hang on, then you would technically have to be nose down, would you not? To keep
Well,
it
depending on which way it's going, yeah.
then you wouldn't actually be level, right?
You'd be level according to the altimeter if it's not moving.
But you would be nose down.
The altimeter does not necessarily tell you if, or the altimeter is not used to measure level, straight and level flight.
No, it measures air pressure.
It's a proxy for it, right?
No, it isn't.
It just tells you if you're going up or down. It doesn't tell you
It's straight and level flight, right?
No, it's an instrument used to indicate your altitude.
Yeah. And if you're going straight and level, you're not going up or down. Yeah, I know it's related to pressure, and that cannot be perfectly accurate.
Yeah,
it doesn't tell you if you're going left or right.
It doesn't. No, it's not going to measure 1 or 2 degree orientation of the plane.
Well, technically, if you were level above the Earth and you flew level in your altimeter and it didn't change, right? Okay, so you're flying level. The ground underneath you would be curving away over a period of time, so you should be getting higher.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
How would the level work on a ball?
Where you've got gravity constantly adjusting your lift.
By definition, gravity's awesome. It's this mystical effect that can straighten you out, keep you at a level height. It's fantastic.
Yeah, if you're going straight and level, your lift is constant, right?
Yeah. No, if you were level above the ball and then you started flying, right, you would start to get higher and higher and higher.
Yeah, which means you would have to increase your lift.
Hang on. You would have to continuously tip your nose down to fly level on the ball.
No,
because gravity is holding it at the right height. It's also pulling the nose down. We
can just call it acceleration. We can just call it acceleration if you like.
No, if you fly over a ball and you're going in a straight line, you're going to climb higher and higher in relation. Your altitude will increase.
Yeah, how can you maintain a straight line?
But the amount of lift, therefore, has to increase to do that.
Why does it?
Because
this is your model. This is your model. No. If you keep the plane flying in a straight line,
yeah, I understand the question.
Then the ground beneath you is falling away.
Yeah, but you're not generating any extra lift.
Yeah, but you don't have to pull your stick back to climb.
No, it's
all you have
basically
to do is hold
self-correcting.
level. All you have to do is fly level, and the ground will drop beneath your feet, so you will actually get higher.
No, because you're not generating any extra lift. When you're flying straight and level, the force of the acceleration down and your lift is equal.
Do you actually believe this?
Of course he does.
What is causing the lift according to you?
How do you fly straight and level on a ball? How is there a straight and level flight on a ball?
I want to know the same.
We should never be straight and level.
He's just literally explained that to you. And it was met by, hold on, why are we now doing what the ballers do? So he explained it clearly, and then it was met with silence, right? So he's explained it, and now we're all just repeating the same crap to him. So, he's explained it. What's the problem? In terms of gravity is the magical force, and it keeps everything in equilibrium as you fly around the curve, because it pulls you and creates more lift, apparently. Well, that's his answer.
Oh.
And I asked him, does he actually believe this?
Right.
Do I believe that straight and level flight, the lift is equal to the downward acceleration? Yes, I do.
Yes, exactly. I don't think he's being disingenuous. He's giving you an answer. What's the problem?
Okay. I'm just letting him repeat it because it's that ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, I agree.
No, it's only ridiculous if you're assuming that that the downward acceleration is motioning to one singular point. But he said downward acceleration. That is technically correct.
Yeah, I think what he's saying works just as well on the flat Earth, right? But
yeah, it does.
He didn't insert any base assumption as to what type of gravity it would be.
Lift and the downward acceleration force cancel each other out. Yeah,
correct.
Right, there's nothing wrong with Ruhif's explanation. It was actually very eloquent. I can't believe it was just the same rinse and repeat from flat earthers. I can't believe that, but there we go. We'll move past that hopefully swiftly.
But straight and level flight is only possible on a flat Earth.
Correct.
No.
exactly the point of my
that I
question.
agree with.
Yeah, whatever.
Come on, Rue. If it doesn't make logical sense
Is
that
it whatever?
plane is the explanation for why the plane flies around a ball.
It's a contradiction in terms. You can't have straight and level flight on a ball. It's a contradiction in terms.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's very blatantly a contradiction in terms.
I'm surprised, Paul. I'm surprised that Ruhif believes this. It's non sequitur.
I mean, that was the point of me asking the question. It's so hard to believe that you believe that. I mean, I've been in a plane.
I didn't really hear
climbed
him
up to
declare
40,000
specifically
feet.
that he believes this.
Oh, and could you not hear that gentleman speaking then?
Barely. Sorry.
Yeah, it's pretty quiet.
He is pretty quiet.
I'm sorry.
Syrup chocolate.
No, what I'm saying is that's why I asked the question, because, I mean, I don't know. We've all been in an aircraft at some point. You climb up and you fly straight and level for hours until you get to where you're going. And then you climb, then you descend, and then you land. Where's the adjustment? Like, how do you not feel that in the plane? I don't understand.
Yeah, and the accelerometers would be showing the continuous micro adjustments because they're that sensitive, apparently, that it can detect gravity, but they don't correct or they don't sense the movement of the plane, continuously making little adjustments to keep around the ball. So
Yeah, but
it's so non sequitur.
You've seen the videos, right, where they weigh stuff on the plane, right? You've seen Wolfie's video and hopefully now Cody's lab's video.
Cody's lab? Are you joking?
Yeah,
Why are you
they're
citing
both-
Cody's lab?
Because they've both done an ETBOS experiment.
Right, and Cody's lab is one of the most disingenuous people out there. He's like the equivalent.
Hold on. We've debunked this, right? Experiment, you say, Ruhif? Right, should we go through it again for a third time?
Sure.
Oh dear.
So, what was the observed phenomena?
That things weigh differently depending on which way you're headed, east or west, and the speed.
So what's the
your velocity
hypothesis?
vector.
What's the independent variable and the dependent variable, the cause and effect?
Independent variable would be your direction and speed.
So the cause is direction, not Earth spin then?
No.
Sorry, you just said your independent variable was direction and speed.
Your velocity vector for the flight, yeah.
Well, that's called the cause. So sod all to do
Yeah,
with the spinning
we can
ball Earth.
vary
Then.
it.
Sod all to do with spinning ball Earth. Cause and
we
effect
haven't
in
got to
this
the
case
hypothesis
is,
yet,
according to Ruhif, the speed and direction. That's according to Ruhif what the cause in this cause and effect relationship is. Right. So nothing to do with the ball then. Why are we even discussing it? I don't really get it.
Well, no, we're trying to explain the phenomenon in
No,
step
we're not.
2, right?
We're trying to isolate cause and effect. That's what we're doing. Yeah, in experiments. That's what an experiment is. It's a hypothesis test. And your hypothesis states that the independent variable, the cause, is due to speed and direction. So, speed and direction, ball Earth. Speed and direction, ball Earth. These things sound very different to me, Ruhif.
Step 1, I observe that weights weigh differently depending on...
Yeah, we got through this. I've had it 3 times. I don't need it a 4th. Thanks. Yeah, it doesn't conform with the scientific method. It doesn't prove the ball Earth. It proves nothing.
Which step would you like, Nathan?
I've gone through them. It doesn't
which step would you
prove
like me
we're
to
on
give you?
a spinning ball.
Which step would you like me to give you?
I've gone through it 4 times. On this
No,
show
yeah,
and previous
Ruhif.
shows, why are you now rinsing and repeating? You know, I've told one of the flat earthers off for doing exactly that. You're doing it on consecutive shows with this rubbish. Why do you keep
You've said
bringing it up?
You've debunked
It's
it,
not
right?
a
So
scientific
which step
proof
am I
of
missing?
anything. It doesn't conform with the scientific method. It doesn't have an independent variable that proves we spin or that we're on a ball. It proves nothing to do with the sphericity of Earth. Nothing.
Which step do you think I'm getting wrong, Nathan?
I'm not thinking you're getting anything. You tell me what it is, I go through it, and then we find that it doesn't prove anything to do with Earth.
You just said...
The
you've just said
independent
that it's wrong.
variable in your experiment isn't anything to do
experiment
with
step 3, right?
Earth. It's to do with speed and direction. Well, that's the cause then. So the cause of the ETBOS effect, according to Ruhif, if his experiment pans out, is speed and direction. What the hell does that have to do with the shape of the Earth? Nothing is
You're
the
getting
answer.
step 2 and
Sod
3
all.
conflated, Nathan.
Nothing to do with
You're
the
getting
shape of
step
the
2 and
Earth.
3 conflated.
I'm not conflating anything. We're isolating variables. So if you say
You're getting the
speed and direction, number one, you don't understand what an isolated variable is. And number two, it has sod all to do with the spin of the Earth or the sphericity of Earth. It has everything to do with your independent variable, which is the cause. And in your cause, the cause is speed and direction. Very nicely isolated, by the way. Nicely isolated, that single variable of speed and direction.
Well, we'll call it velocity then, Nathan.
Oh, right. So the cause is velocity. So the cause in this cause and effect relationship is now going to be velocity. What the hell does that have to do with Earth?
No, but hold on. We can't. Unless we understand Ruif, we're not going to understand how he sees this scientific method. And this is what I've been saying. One of the biggest problems is the ball earthers have an idea of what science is, and unless we can or hear Ruif, explain, he's saying that you've got it wrong. So obviously he has an idea how science should be done. So, Ruif, explain.
I'm literally following Nathan's, parroting of Quantum Eraser.
Okay,
Sorry,
so
Quantum
where's
Eraser's
the problem then?
Parroting. No. All he's done is taken me through a dozen different references that all say the same thing about the scientific method. That's all he's done. So it's not Quantum Eraser. This is the scientific method. Simple.
According to who?
According to many, many, many references that all basically say exactly the same thing.
Yeah, and are they the arbiters of what's scientific?
No. Are you the arbiter of what's scientific?
No.
No, but this is what I want to find out, though, Nathan. Hold on. This is what I want to find out from Riffs. I want you to describe what science is, how you think science should be. How you're saying that you understand, right? Let's just break it down.
Yeah, I'm happy to go with that Rochester University page. Step 1, observe a phenomenon. Step 2, hypothesize. Step 3, perform an experiment. Step 4, does your experiment match your prediction?
But you agree with the scientific method then, yeah?
I think it's a reasonable approximation. I mean, if I deviate at any point from it, Nathan's going to go nuts and lose his bananas, right?
Well, no, if you deviate from it, then it's not science anymore. For instance, if you add 2 variables, then you haven't isolated a variable, have you? So that's why I go nuts, because you decide that, well, we can have 3 variables if we decide 2, because we're the arbiters of what science is.
That's what I'm trying to find out. Are you trying to use your own science, or are you saying there is a universal science that is accepted and used by everybody, or are you saying we can pick and choose? I'm trying to find that out from you. Bro.
I'm saying that different people have different definitions for it.
I'm saying you can pick and choose. Pick and choose the one that best suits, right?
It all depends whether the predictions match reality. That's the key for me, at least.
Okay. Well, in this case, reality is speed and direction. That's your cause.
My hypothesis is it's a spinning ball. Step 2. You've gone straight to step 3, right?
All right. Step 2. Let's just assume that we don't have to go and study lots and lots of stuff about this Epphos effect, and we'll just go call step 2 your hypothesis. And a hypothesis establishes an independent and dependent variable, a cause and effect.
No, this is where you're getting step 2 and 3 conflated.
No, I'm not getting anything conflated. I understand this. The hypothesis is the cause and effect relationship, the independent and the dependent variable.
Do you want me to read out step 2?
You can do whatever you like.
Okay, just seeing if you'd finished. Step 2, formulate a hypothesis to explain the phenomena. In physics, the hypothesis often takes the form of a causal mechanism or a mathematical relation. My hypothesis, my supposition, is that the Earth is a spinning globe. And then in step 3, I use that hypothesis to make a prediction.
No,
I predict.
that's not a cause and effect relationship.
The Earth is a spinning globe isn't describing a relationship.
Correct.
It's a mathematical model, yes.
So that's a model. We're talking about the real world. How is it that within one breath you've gone from we have to find out how it works in the real world to this is my bloody mathematical model? How is it you've managed to do that in one breath? It really frustrates me.
Quantum Eraser, how he knows about fermions and baryons and everything.
Who, me?
See if Quantum Eraser can explain quantum mechanics without referencing the standard model. I guarantee you he cannot do it.
I've no idea. Maybe you can, maybe
What
you
does that
can't.
have to do
It
with
makes no
logic?
difference to this conversation.
Google
We're not
the word.
studying
What does that have to do with
models.
any of this?
We're not studying models. We're not studying mathematical relationships on models.
Yeah,
We're studying
this is what you get
causes
for folding
and effects
polymerase, Nathan.
in the
No,
real
you're still
world.
misunderstanding what a hypothesis is, right?
No,
Because
hypothesis is a supposition.
yeah, but the world is a globe is not a hypothesis in the scientific context.
No, it's not a supposition, it's a prediction.
No, I use my hypothesis to make predictions.
You're
No,
right,
no,
it's
no.
not a supposition.
The hypothesis has to be something like, you know, if that there's a relationship, say, between how objects will weigh and their position on the planet due to some cause that you would have to vary in order to test, right? Like you're not ruling out other possible explanations. If those assuming those experiments are legitimate, you'd have to somehow determine that it was actually the spinning of the Earth that was causing the change,
You're
not some other.
basically proved my point here.
No, I'm not.
The hypothesis is different to the experiment that you test.
No, the
No.
hypothesis.
An experiment is a hypothesis test. That's what an experiment is.
Yeah, but your hypothesis has to make a prediction. Otherwise, like
If
let's
and
say
then,
that my hypothesis.
if and then relationships, cause and effect,
let me finish
independent
this statement,
and
Nathan.
dependent variable. Not the Earth is a ball.
Let's say that my hypothesis is just that the weight changes based on your direction and speed of travel.
So what's your
And then I go and
independent
experiment.
variable? Sorry,
No, this is just.
what's your independent
we're just
variable
going-
in that relationship?
Listen,
What's the
we're
cause?
just going through.
What's the
we're
cause
just
in
going
that
through
cause
a
and effect relationship, Ruhif? What's the cause?
We're just going through a hypothetical here, Nathan.
I only
Just hold
need
on.
two things: an independent and a dependent variable. That's all I need. So what's the cause
No.
and what's the effect? Those are the
We're
only
going
two things
through
I
a
need.
hypothetical situation.
Yeah, that's a hypothesis. We are making a hypothesis and establishing a cause and effect. If and then relationship. An independent and dependent variable. So I just want to hear those two things.
I'm explaining something, Nathan.
I don't need
This
an
is not-
explanation. I need an independent and a dependent variable for your experiment.
Okay. I'm going to keep on talking until you kick me out, until I get my words out. Number two, if we make our hypothesis simply that the weight changes as you vary the speed and direction of flight, when you get to the end, it's meaningless. All you've done is prove that the weight changes when you change direction and speed of flight.
Well
You
done.
haven't
Took you long
actually
enough to
explained-
realise how utterly pointless and unscientific this is. Amazing. You can even admit to it that it's completely and utterly pointless if you try and formulate it into the scientific method. Thank you, Ruhif.
No. If you formulate a useless hypothesis,
No, if you formulate a hypothesis which would have a cause and effect relationship in it with an independent and a dependent variable, not speed and direction, a singular
velocity.
independent variable that you can manipulate, one thing
the
that
velocity
you
vector,
can
there you go.
change that definitely causes the effect.
He
Do
just
you
said
understand
velocity
that if-
vector.
yeah, velocity vector, there you go. That incorporates speed and direction.
So
My
if
point is-
velocity vector, then Epvos effect. Again, I don't really understand how this proves the Earth is a sphere or proves that the Earth is spinning.
You haven't got my point yet, Nathan, because you
No, I have got your point. You don't have an independent or a dependent variable that has any relationship whatsoever to Earth's sphericity or its spinning.
Can you tell me my point, or have you not got my point?
Yeah, you've got a crap point. You don't have a scientific hypothesis. You have lots of
No.
different variables
No,
mushed
I'm
into
trying to explain
what
something
you
to
call
you.
a hypothesis, and it's garbage.
Listen, if my hypothesis is that the weight changes due to changes in direction, and I get to the end of step 4, all I have shown is that the weight changes, due to the change in direction and speed of travel.
Excellent.
There's
right.
no explanation.
That's right.
There's
Correct.
no explanation
Correct.
there. There's no explanation
Correct.
behind it.
Now, explanation is not causation, though, right?
Right. Well
But we
done.
haven't explained
So,
anything.
Ruhif, well done for
exactly.
pointing out again that your experiment proves nothing. Thank you very much. But correct, as Anthony just pointed out, an explanation doesn't establish a cause and effect relationship now, does it?
Yeah,
What does establish cause and effect relationships, though, Ruhif, is something very specific. It's called the scientific method.
This is
I
why the
don't think
hypothesis
Ruhif
is not.
relating this to the shape of the Earth. He's just establishing
No, I
the
am.
effect.
I'm telling you that if you don't relate it to the shape of the Earth, you've proved nothing. You've explained nothing.
And that's the problem with your experiment, is that it doesn't
No,
prove
that's the problem. That's the problem with Nathan conflating steps 2 and 3.
No, it isn't.
Anything.
Hypothesis.
I haven't conflated anything.
Cannot establish that there's a relationship between how the way the measuring is connected to the actual shape of the Earth, because that's not that's not an independent variable, the shape of the Earth.
I still don't think you're getting it. Let's just go through step 1 to 4. Step 1, I observe the weight changes due to changes in speed. Step 2, I hypothesize that the weight changes due to changes in speed. Step 3, I test it. Step 4, I confirm it. There's zero explanation in there.
What's your hypothesis?
My hypothesis is the Earth is a spinning globe. That is
not a hypothesis. A hypothesis establishes an if and then relationship between things.
If
For God's
it
sake.
is a spinning ball, if it is a spinning ball.
So your independent variable is spinning ball. Thank God we got there in the end. You tell me now, Ruhif, you take a very long breath and explain to me and the audience how you as a researcher are capable of varying your independent variable. So now you tell me and the audience how you're going to vary Earth spin.
No, because you've...
What do you mean, no? That's your independent variable. Do you know what an independent variable is? It's the thing that you vary as a researcher. So you're going to tell me you can vary Earth spin? Or do I have to start calling you a moron? Because you've literally descended to the level of stupidity of people like... I can't even remember his stupid name now. The guy who was on yesterday.
So, Ruhif, just in practical terms, how are you ruling out other possible causes for the change?
Well, you can never do that.
Yes, you can. That's the point of the scientific method, to isolate variables. That's the entire point, to establish what is actually causing the effect.
No, but what the problem is that you never can with the hypothesis that you've proposed. So your experiment,
no, you can never rule anything out.
Arrive at this that you cannot use to arrive at this conclusion. That's what we're saying.
I can always insert a magic pixie at any step in this process.
Magic
there will
pixie?
Always be the possibility of a magic pixie.
No, it's not.
That's what the scientific method is for, so that we don't have to assume magic pixies and bloody unicorns. That's what science does. It establishes cause and effect. No bloody pixies, no bloody spinning ball religion, no unicorns, causes and effects. That's the scientific method. That's science.
Yeah. Rue, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
If the hypothesis was that we are on a spinning ball, how does varying the speed left to right prove that the Earth was spinning? Because it appears to me that that would prove that the reason why the weight changes its weight is because of speed.
Hang on, sorry. Someone was laughing. What was that?
Ranty, come back. Ranty's dropped. In the meantime, someone spotted it.
What happened there? Who's laughing?
Just wait for Ranty to rejoin. Or somebody else to take the place of Stephen Curtis. We could do with us a place filler.
Oh, okay. All right.
Just wait for the guy to leave, or somebody else to join and take his place, and then we'll be able to carry on talking.
Okay. But, Anthony, do you understand that if step 1 is observed that the weight changes due to speed, step 2, I hypothesize that the weight changes due to speed and whatever, step 3, I test it, and step 4, I confirm it. There is zero explanation there. Zero.
No, but you're proving speed.
How is there any explanation?
That's not my problem. That's your problem, Ruhif.
No, this is why you have step 2 and 3 conflated, Nathan. Step 2 is not
I don't
experiment.
have anything conflated. It's simple. You make an observation, then you formulate a hypothesis which establishes an if and then relationship, a cause and effect, using two things specifically, an independent and a dependent variable. The independent variable being the thing that you vary, the dependent the thing being the thing that is varied. As a consequence, a direct consequence of you varying the independent variable. So if you are to postulate in your hypothesis that the Earth is a spinning ball, it is not ever capable of being varied by you as a researcher, and therefore being the cause of anything.
The way you say it, Nathan, there is zero explanations in science if you maintain that.
So why do they do it?
It's not about explanations.
So why do they do it, Ruhif? Why do they bother doing
Science is
it?
exactly about explanations.
No, it's about proof.
Right, it
causation.
is about explanations. Explanations of if and then relationships. That's what science is. The problem you have is you can't utilise this tool to prove we're on a spinning ball.
And in practical terms, you're not eliminating other possible causes for the observation.
You can't do that.
Right. So that's not, but that doesn't make your experiment valid. The fact that you can't do that doesn't make it. No, that doesn't leave us in a situation where we have to default to your model.
No, and it also doesn't
makes. This is why all science is provisional, right?
Hang on, it doesn't help you if your point is that speed is the thing that you're varying and then showing a relationship between the two or a correlation between the two, because the implication is that speed is the cause, not the rotation of the Earth.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's again
the independent variable, therefore the
of
cause in your causal relationship.
Sorry, say it again, Nathan.
That's the cause. So if you're saying speed, and that's your independent variable, then speed, that's your cause, mate. Sorry, what was that you said about Earth curve? Because I haven't heard anything about it in the experiment, mate. We're not varying Earth curve. We're not varying Earth turn. We're not varying Earth. You haven't got control over that as a researcher. Ever.
A change in weight.
Yeah, weight. So is weight the independent variable now? If weight?
No, speed.
So if speed. So speed's the cause, Ruhif. That's science, mate. So your independent variable establishes the cause and effect. So if your independent variable is speed, then there's your cause, mate. Go on to a racing forum.
Fair enough.
So, anybody got any actual proof or evidence of Earth curve or spin at all?
Well, the way you understand step 2, there is no way to prove anything scientifically.
So why did they do it again?
Why did they do what?
Science.
Why do they do science?
Yeah. Why did they do it? Because we can't prove anything according to your statement. What you actually mean is, I can't prove the thing I want to prove here using science. It's a total fail for me. I've got too many variables which I can't isolate. So I'll just assert it with a just so story, shove a bloody Lego model. You're idolaters. You guys worship an idol. It's called the globe and it's dead.
People are saying that you're a born-again Christian, Nathan. Is that correct?
No.
Would it matter if he was?
No, he was. Okay.
Would it matter if he was?
It's just interesting. Yeah.
It's interesting because this is the default position for Globers, to call us religious. The reality being, Ruhif, you have faith in this garbage. You are religious.
Well, again, you're conflating what the word religious means. So,
no, you take this on faith.
No, I don't. I can test this myself.
So what are you going to test? Let's hear all about the next thing you're going to test, Ruhif.
Well, if I had the urge to go to Perth, I would do the same ETPOS experiment. But I am going to go to Melbourne so I can
is this literally going to be rinse and repeat for the 5th time? 3rd time on this show, you're going to assert the exact same garbage. That doesn't prove the Earth is a sphere. So, thank you for making my point, Ruhif. You take the sphere bit on faith.
No.
Yeah.
I hypothesized that it's a sphere.
Oh, so you take it on hypothesis? Right, well, that's not proving anything, my friend. You can't just use the hypothesis and say, well, because I've hypothesized it's a sphere, it's a sphere. No, mate. No, that's not how it works. That's belief.
Predictions match reality, Nathan.
Oh, really? So if Mystic Meg predicts something and it comes true, does that mean Mystic Meg is God?
If she has a 100% success rate, absolutely.
Yeah, Mystic Meg, 100% absolutely. She never gets it wrong, my friend.
Oh,
so she is God now, according to your standards. Don't be so ridiculous.
Okay, so there's a guy, a baller, called Wiggles. Anthony, he's going to join. He's going to try and join if there's a space at least. So don't kick him. He's an engineer. He has a good understanding of the board and the mechanics of how it all works. So he really wants to get on the show. So I'm just letting you know, if there is a space he's attempting to get on.
A space can be made, provided, but then just make sure the admins keep an eye on Wiggle. Is he say what's his name? Wiggles.
He's got to join quicker, otherwise someone's going to pretend, right?
Well, we can kick out people that join instead of him, but as long as we know his name, then we can get in. So
I know, but as soon as someone knows his name,
there is now a space for Wiggles to join.
Welcome to the Ball Earth Circus. In the meantime, we'll have a few
I've told him to come. I've told him to join.
They do not negotiate curvature, and one being
And obviously Debbie Duran is not the name that we're looking for.
Roll up.
That might be Debbie, though. Actually,
no, it's recorded.
Oh, okay.
She does it all the time.
I'm going to kick her out.
That soccer account does it all the time.
Yeah, but is someone going to kick her out before he kicks everyone else out?
Yeah, I've kicked.
Yeah, we're on it. We're on it.
So Wiggles is attempting right now as we speak.
Well, there is a gap for Wiggles to join.
No, Debbie's still here.
No, she's not. She's gone. I've kicked her.
Oh, well, there she goes. Finally. All right.
It just takes a while for it to drop off your screen.
So if you see, yeah, just keep trying Wiggles, and you should.
Lewis.
Sorry.
Oh, we've got Lewis. Lewis. That's not Wiggles.
Well, I mean, I can leave if you really want me to, but.
No, you don't have to leave. You do what you want. You do what
No,
you
well,
want. You want to stay,
you
you
have to
stay.
leave, but Wiggles is specialized. Okay, he is
special too.
I have
Yeah,
no
we can
idea
leave
who
Lewis
Wiggles
in. We
is.
can
I'd
get
rather
rid
have
of
Lewis on
somebody
who
else,
he
I'm
is.
sure.
Who's the Atom? He hasn't spoken. I mean, I
No,
could go.
he did.
Like 20 to 1 here, right?
He did speak. He spoke earlier on. He said he was a placeholder. That's fine.
Shall I kick Adam?
All we're doing is showing that that one person that's got the vendetta can be controlled if we have to.
Yeah, nice work, Anthony.
Pardon?
Nice work.
Miles, if you want.
It's gone. No, don't kick that account, because that account can then rejoin if necessary.
Oh, I need someone to
Dave,
drop.
I was going to say, I'm not going to kick Adam out on account of the fact that.
Yeah, he's
he won't be able
trying
to
though.
get
He
back
said
in.
it's full, so he's trying. He's
No,
trying.
but Lewis has joined. Wiggles did have his chance to join, and Lewis.
Right,
How about, no, Anthony, I'll drop and go feed dogs and shit, and then.
No, you might as well stay in.
No, you can stay in, but I just mean, I think he's new to the Hangouts, so he's just trying to figure it out. Yeah.
He's going to struggle. He's just going to keep saying call is full.
Yeah, but John, I'll drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll drop if he's ready to go, and I'll go and do my jobs.
Just before you do drop, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Nathan.
Hey,
Hopefully
good
it
night,
didn't
Ruben.
Did you see the boat picture I put up in because of you?
Yeah.
That was quite impressive, don't you think?
I think it proves an obvious point.
The ghost. Well, it's not that obvious. People think that you can see Paris from New York.
Yeah, but you can't see through that much atmosphere, so.
Yeah, I know, but still, people that make that assert. I mean, Jeremy made it the other day in ISIS chat. You should be able to see because there's no obstruction on a flat Earth. Yeah, there is something called convergence, though. Anyway, go and deal with the kids, my friend, and we'll speak to you soon.
No, kids are asleep. It's 20 to 1. I got to go and feed dogs and go to bed. I'll be curious to watch back and see how much Nathan muted me. Anyway, we'll see.
It always happens at least a little.
All right, yeah. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Spam that thing, Wiggles. Spam join.
Yeah, Wiggles, if you join it now, you should have the gap to join, and we'll watch for you joining.
Good call, by the way, Anthony, filling out the panel. That was a stroke of genius. I should have thought of that myself, but kudos to you.
Nameless? That's not Wiggles. Wiggle it just a little bit.
Oh, I thought it was interesting how similar Ruhif and I sounded. The points I made, the points he made, they were almost exactly the same. It's almost like there is a universal scientific method.
It's almost like I accused him of being as stupid as you. I actually accused him of being as stupid as you. I just couldn't remember your name.
Oh, that's awful flattering.
Anyone would think you went to school for that.
Well, I mean, so did you.
Yeah, but I was able to get a higher education.
Okay, so unfortunately, it looks like he was kicked.
Oh, what? Was that him joining? Oh, did we have his name wrong? Was it ordinary person? Or whatever he's called.
He's not called Wiggles.
Nameless.
Nameless, that was it.
Why does it? Oh, right, because we were looking for Wiggles to join. Because that's
can't you bring him back in on Skype?
No. I haven't got him on Skype. I don't even know who he is.
Why is he joining?
That's why I wanted to keep Lewis.
Yeah, it's probably worth keeping Lewis as a...
Exactly. We need a
because at least we know who Lewis is.
Yeah, you can call Lewis a retard. He won't do anything.
Well, we don't need to call you a retard. We know that you are Lewis, right? We know who you are. We can call you a retard if you'd like, though.
No, I was just talking about Nathan's general attitude towards arguing.
Towards ballers who don't understand the scientific method and assert nonsense. Yeah, I tend to call them retarded.
Well, I used to do that too. And I don't see, because we both have the exact same position of I don't think you understand the scientific method. You don't think I understand the scientific method. But I refrain from calling you retarded because it doesn't actually help the conversation.
And to be honest,
it doesn't help the
I would agree with you.
But
I think that Nathan can be a little bit harsh at times.
Yeah, deliberately. So I mirror, generally speaking, the kind of crap I've had over the 3 years that I've done this. Because we're now winning, Lewis. We're now taking your argument to pieces with science.
Well, no, you've just incorporated insults. I mean, you haven't.
No. I only incorporate
won anything
after somebody like yourself is asked to, for instance, point out what their independent variable is when they observe the sun setting, and when they point out that it's the Earth turn, and I point out that that's not. See, now you're talking over me, Lewis. See, this is where you're talking over me because you've got a losing argument. And I'm going to point out that when someone like yourself comes on and says, I observe the sun setting, and then comes up with a just-so story about a ball Earth, I point out that that is in no way scientific and in no way proves a ball Earth, and there is no way for you to vary your independent variable. And
well, in the hypothesis stage of the scientific method, you're not declaring something to be true.
Sorry.
So I mean, again, you actually can vary your independent variable, but it changes the explanation, the types of prediction. Are you adjusting my audio level? Why'd you do that?
You were really loud.
You are loud, yeah.
All right, great. If you create your independent variable based on what you think is happening or what you would like to test, and then in the next stage, you isolate. That's where the isolation of variables occurs in the testing, so that you can test various predictions that your hypothesis would make.
So step one for you is what?
You observe something.
Observe what specifically? Something could be a tree. Could
anything, right? Exactly. So
no,
if we're just...
not exactly, you retard. This is where I start calling you a retard. You observe a phenomena. That's what you observe. Not just a thing, not just anything. You don't just go out and observe lawnmower. You observe phenomena. That's the starting point, you retard. So this is why you get called a retard, because you don't understand it.
Yeah, because I don't want to be pedantic. I'm just making...
Not pedantic. Accurate. Correct. Right. That's what you need to be here. But you're the opposite of those things. You are incorrect, Lewis. And you continue to assert that you are correct. That makes you intellectually retarded. Your cognition is held back.
Okay, Nathan.
Yeah, it is okay. It's all good, man. Everybody's laughing at you. At the moment, we're winning, as I just pointed out. We're winning. You guys are coming on and stuttering like idiots, asserting nonsense, and then having your arguments ripped a new one by general average Joe who doesn't claim to be a scientist.
We're just talking about the general application of the scientific method. There's no need to be super precise here.
Yeah, we do have to be super precise. What, we don't have to be scientific about this? Yeah, we do. That's the point. You complete idiot. That's the entire point of what we're doing. Being precise and establishing cause and effect relationships. So not if Earth turn, because you can't vary it. You understand that now?
Maybe you could let me get through all the steps before interrupting and saying that's wrong.
Don't need to. I only need to normally get to about step 1, depending on how stupid the person is. So in most cases, people don't even observe a phenomena. They don't even do that first step. So their argument falls apart immediately.
Why don't you enlighten me on the proper...
No, I won't enlighten you about anything. Come back and present what 2,000 years of your dumbass globe religion has actually afforded you as scientific evidence. I'll have a good look at it, and then we'll rip it apart. Okay?
Well, the horizon's one piece. You know, if you're going to ask me to bring up all the scientific evidence, that assumes a lot of the scientific method steps already being done. The hypotheses and tests already support the theories, so I can just bring you the theories, right? And then you'll have to take them apart. But you're asking me,
what's this word theories? What's this word theories you've inserted?
Much further on in the scientific process here, and then at the same time saying, give me all the science that's already been established.
Try to calm down. Try to take a breath. You've inserted this alien word, theories. What do you mean?
Exactly.
A theory is an explanation of facts that's supported by lots of observations and experiments.
Oh, no. Oh, lots of observations and experiments. How do you get to a theory?
You do a lot of hypothesizing and experimentation.
Right. There you go. Okay, let's start off with it then. Observe a phenomenon.
Daydreaming.
Okay, let's observe a phenomena. There is, from an unchanged observer height, a horizon.
So there is a horizon. Is that a phenomena or a concrete noun?
That is a phenomena.
It's a what's the action?
That's when you can't see past a point. There is a distinct line past which you cannot see as long as you do not change your elevation.
That sounds like a concrete noun to me.
Okay.
What's your hypothesis?
My hypothesis would be that that line is caused by a round Earth and the position of an observer fixed on the ground.
Okay, the independent variable is what?
The round Earth.
Well, that's not an independent variable because you have to vary and manipulate it. Can you vary and manipulate the round Earth?
No, you don't.
Yes, you do.
Well, see, we're in an idea abstract stage of the scientific method at this point, so you can vary it.
No,
you absolutely can.
Yeah. Listen,
hypothesizing is a purely abstract process.
It's your experiment statement.
No, your experimentation comes in step 3.
No, the experiment is your hypothesis test. The only difference between a hypothesis and an experiment is the controlled variables. Otherwise, they're the same.
No. You make predictions based on your hypothesis, and then you test those predictions.
That's right. So what's your independent variable in your hypothesis?
There is a horizon.
Okay, what's your hypothesis?
That if the Earth is round, that horizon exists because the Earth is round.
Okay, your cause is the Earth is round. That's your independent variable. The independent variable in every experiment is your presumed cause, and it has to be varied and manipulated by the researcher. University of North Carolina. Can you vary and manipulate the curved Earth?
In the hypothesis, yes, I could hypothesize that it's flat and it's due to perspective.
No, it's not a viable independent variable.
Yes.
No. So your argument is yes. Are you pre-law by chance?
I don't think you understand.
Oh, I don't understand
how you create a hypothesis. I don't think you understand the reason for it.
I think you don't, and you have demonstrated it over and over and over again.
I don't think you understand it at all.
I think I do. Do you want me to cite some sources for you?
I'd like
what
you
a
to
hypothesis is?
I'd like you to demonstrate an understanding of it.
Okay. Colorado State, a scientific hypothesis.
You're making an argument from authority.
A prediction. That's not an argument from authority. They know what they're talking about. Scientific
exactly. That proves that it is an argument from authority.
They authored it. They An argument from authority.
Can you just keep quiet for a minute and let him explain to you the answer?
Subject matter expert that's not an expert in the topic. This is Colorado State. This is their science department. A special kind of prediction that forecasts how the independent variable will affect the dependent variable. From Penn State.
Excuse me, attention, Anthony. I'll put the name of.
Just interrupt me, man.
Sorry,
No
just so you
problem.
don't boot him this time. Sorry, John. Go ahead.
Go ahead. So, from Penn State University, the scientist applies his or her present knowledge to predict the effect of the independent variable on the dependent variable. The prediction is a statement of the expected results of the experiments based on the hypothesis.
Yeah,
The
based on the
prediction
hypothesis.
is
Exactly. That's step 3. You're talking about step 3. You're talking about step 3 right now.
God.
This is not step 2. This is not the creation of the hypothesis.
You have to have the hypothesis to get to the experiment. That's what it is.
I know. Why are you acting as if I don't know that? This is
Because you don't know it. You already demonstrated that.
Oh, what did I do that demonstrated that?
You demonstrated by saying your independent variable was the curved Earth. That is an inviolable independent variable.
Well, then maybe you shouldn't ask me malformed questions, because that's going to make me assume, right, that you mean something that you don't.
Well, because I had
So
never
I answered.
claimed-
So what happened was
Listen,
because you asked me a malformed question, I answered a question that you didn't actually ask, and that caused us
but
to
if
get
you
off on the wrong
knew,
foot.
but
And
listen, the
it's like your misunderstanding of this causes this to happen every single
Excuse me.
time.
I'm not the one that's claiming scientific evidence for a
Well, I'm
religion.
not- Whoa,
You
whoa,
are.
whoa. That didn't actually happen. I just came on.
Yeah.
Nathan demanded that I provide evidence of mainstream science.
Yes.
Right? That's not me claiming something.
You and your incoherent hordes have said for the past 3 years.
My incoherent hordes. Well,
Yeah,
I
your
know I
brethren.
am the prophet of Helios. So.
Yeah, your brethren have said for the past 3 years that if we believe in the flat Earth, then we must deny all of physics and science. Is that not what you've been saying? And I've heard you say
It's true.
something.
It's true. You must. Yes,
Okay.
it is true.
Then there we go. Let's go.
It's ridiculous.
Then let's go. Provide your scientific evidence of your spinning ball religion. Phenomena observed.
Well,
please.
why don't you provide scientific evidence of your flat Earth?
Didn't you?
No. I'll take that one if you don't mind. So, we do not assert that science is behind us. We have not had 2,000 years with apparently the whole body of science backing this religion. This spinning ball assumption is apparently backed by, quote, science. So, that is the yardstick we are putting back on your doorstep, as it is you who are asserting it. Simple.
All right. So you want a piece of science, right?
Yeah, are you deaf? We want you to prove that the Earth is a sphere using science. That's correct.
All right. So let's form a let's go back. We'll go back to the sun, right? So the sun disappears behind the horizon. So this could be explained with a flat Earth model, where the sun goes back underneath the Earth and then up over it from the other side.
Models are
that's
pseudoscience.
based on a model
I
that
mean,
has nothing
I
to
didn't
do
even
with
finish
what we
the
believe.
thing, guys. Like, why are you interrupting me already?
Well, because you said model. Models are pseudoscience.
So models can be part of a hypothesis.
No, they
Yeah,
can't.
but you're assuming the wrong model. even
Arwen,
if
no,
we
they
have one.
Arwen, I'm demonstrating the difference in predictive capability. That's where this is going.
To have a scientific prediction, you have to have an independent and dependent variable.
Right, and the independent variable is the shape of the Earth. The dependent variable are the predictions that you might get from that.
What are the criterion that an independent variable must satisfy? There's two of them.
It doesn't change based on other circumstances in the hypothesis.
Wrong. An independent variable, the two criterion are it's your presumed cause, number one, and number two, you have to be able to vary and manipulate it. Can you vary and manipulate the spinning ball Earth?
Yes, I can hypothesize a flat Earth or a spinning
No,
ball
that's,
Earth.
that's not manipulating the spinning ball Earth.
No. See, you're getting it wrong. You're getting it twisted. I am varying and manipulating the independent variable. Once the independent variable is selected, you do not vary that in a physical way.
How are you varying and manipulating the spinning ball Earth?
The hypothesis is a purely abstract process.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
It's definitely not. The scientific hypothesis contains your independent variable and your dependent variable.
Yes,
it's
abstract
your hypothesis.
concept. Both
Lewis, I'm very
abstract
interested in
concepts.
your
It's
statement.
abstract.
Do you have some literature to actually back up that statement?
Let's see that. Let's see the citation.
If you can't vary your variable, it's not a variable.
But I would like
Right,
to see
right.
some
So if
literature
you don't
that
let me-
actually
if you're
backs
not
up what
going to
Lewis
let me,
has
if
said
you're
now,
not
but
going to
it's-
let me change the spinning ball Earth to a spinning flat Earth, you're not going to
No,
see
no,
any
to
variation.
understand what change means, what vary means, what manipulate means. This is why I call you a retard, Lou, because you don't understand what the word vary means. It's a very simple word, but you don't understand it. You just keep jabber, 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 telling people who understand this that they don't understand.
Well, you don't even understand English. You constantly misuse words.
Oh, really?
No, variable means able to vary.
So you should,
Wiggles. We got
you should
Wiggles.
not be
Hooray.
using the word manipulate when talking
Hey,
about
you
things
guys,
in a
how you doing,
hypothesis.
Wiggles? Good to have you.
Oh, wait,
Because-
hold on. Hold on.
You shouldn't
What
even
did
be
you-
using that word.
Able to vary. Variable.
Yeah,
That's
thank
what
you.
that word-
Thank you,
that's
dummy.
I'm really interested in
So if
your
you're not able
angle
to
as to
vary-
what hypotheses
If you're
mean.
not able to vary your variable, then it's not a variable.
guys, I think we get how basically John.
Well, you can
views
vary it, but you
the
guys have a
scientific
different
method, but I'm
understanding
kind of
of what
interested in-
variation means and how it's applied in the hypothesis.
Lewis, can you
You're
please?
conflating, like it's just like Ruhif said, you're conflating the hypothesis step with the testing step.
Really?
Lewis, can you back up
Because
your
the
statement
isolation
about
of variables,
hypotheses with some
the
literature,
isolation of
please?
variables occurs in the experimentation phase of the scientific
This
method.
is really
what's
nice
the-
explanation.
And you're
Can you
using-
actually
you're
back
using
it up
those
that that is
terms-
the
Yeah,
case?
one at a
using
time,
those terms
one at a
in the
time,
hypothesis
please.
step are when I was actually speaking, so I will answer you when I finish this. You don't use the terms isolation of variables and determining independent and dependent variables. You don't do that until you're in specific experimentation steps.
Wrong.
So
That's
you're
very
constant-
interesting,
you're
but
constantly
can you back
misusing
that up?
terms.
That is
Citation, please.
actually the
Confusing
case.
the conversation.
Citation, please.
Yes,
I don't
would
need a
really like
citation for that.
citation.
Well, then it's an ipsy-dixit fallacy. That means
It's
he himself
ipsy-dixit.
said. That's
All
right. That's a fallacy. Go back and get some support for your baseless assertion.
I don't need any support for these.
No,
we don't
you
need
do.
to
You
listen to you
absolutely do.
And then can I just that's a very good point, Lewis. You don't need to. That's right. You can be safe and confident in your belief in this stuff because that's all you've got. A belief. Yeah? You've got no evidence, you've got no proof. You've just got fairy tales and you believe them. And that's it. That's the end of this story.
But I was really interested in his concept.
Wiggles,
I would like to see some backup, some literature backup that his statement that sounded really nice coming out of his mouth about what an hypothesis supposedly is. I would like to see some literature backup to actually prove that that is the case and not just a nice sounding story on his part.
He thinks the independent variable is just something in your mind that you vary.
Can we invite?
Isn't that what he was saying?
That hypotheses are purely
wiggle
a theoretical construct that doesn't have to apply to anything physical. And I would like to see some literature backup of that.
Isn't that what he was saying? That in a physical experiment, we just have to vary our idea or
Yeah, just our imagination that varies. It's the sky's the limit. Anyway, can I say hello to our new guest? Hello, Wiggles.
Well, hello. People can hear me.
Yes, people can hear you. I'll
Okay,
turn you up a
but
little bit.
yes, thank you for the welcome. Thank you. Thank you for letting me come here. Whatever. I'm not quite sure where I am, but
You're on Earth.
You're on
Earth.
You're definitely on Earth, that's for sure.
We all agree with that one.
Well, one of the best ways to to kick things off is to tell us what you believe or where do you think you live? Are you on a flat Earth or are you on a spinning ball?
I believe I'm on a spinning ball.
Okay.
Radius. I can be even more.
You got a new
radius-
challenger.
Oh yeah, sure.
Do you think there's a Tesla Roadster orbiting the Earth?
I do indeed.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
let's walk him through it. Let's.
Do you think we went to the moon?
I do indeed. We went to the moon. That seems reasonable to me.
Did 2 planes cause 3 buildings to collapse?
Oh God.
I'm not getting into 9/11.
We're just seeing how
How did we
they
make it through the Van Allen though?
I actually have a letter sent to Van Allen himself to get a confirmation of whether or not he said that the radiation was going to kill the astronauts. He's confirmed that it would not. I'm looking for that letter right now.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I've got to say.
Yeah, so let's see where. Oh, I'm gonna find it. I miss. I've got to go through my folders now. I don't know if
how do we know this really is from the guy known as Van Allen rather than somebody that you just typed up on a word processor, right?
Yeah, because he signed it, and you can look at his writing online. It matches pretty good, I think. Where the hell is?
I'm prepared to take the guy at his word. I think it would be an outrageous claim to make. So let's.
I got a question for him.
But then, hang on. Then the question.
Yeah, shit. Here we go. Here's the letter. Yeah.
Hang on, one at a time, guys. One at a time. One at a time.
I don't know if you can see. I'm pointing my camera at the letter.
Hang on, let me see. Wiggles, there you are.
No, we just see your phone kind of blurring out the screen. Maybe hold it.
Yeah,
back
kind of whitewashed.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how to send like a screenshot.
Yeah,
take a picture.
Super overexposed.
Yeah, take a picture on your phone of the letter, and then if you email it to NathanOakley1980@AOL.com.
Guys, we've got about 15 minutes left, and we're gonna dice up this letter, and I'm prepared to just take it as a folly and go, "That's cool. You've sent a letter to Van Allen. That's wicked." And I think that's cool. He doesn't have to prove it. Let's just get back into whether or not he knows the Earth is actually a sphere.
Yeah, I can read it though. I can read the letter here. I can. If you want
That's okay. That's okay.
It's really not that important.
Yeah.
Okay.
We would rather hear your evidence about why you're so sure that the Earth is a spinning ball.
Okay.
Based on what evidence?
Yeah. Okay. Well, ships disappear below the horizon. That is sufficient evidence.
Well, hold on. You said you're an engineer, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, so just putting that out there so you understand the mechanics of engineering. Okay, so sorry, carry on.
Well, yeah, that's really about it. That's all you need to prove it, really. Like, because
no, that's not a proof. You have to validate.
Yeah. So, and I find that often it's hard to figure out like what metaphysical axioms that we would all have in common. So, what metaphysical axioms do we all have in common?
Well, there's only 2. There's only 2 ontological primitives. 1, natural phenomena, or 2, an intelligent agent. So which one are you?
Are you asking me about like the ceramic myth versus the fully automatic myth versus the dramatic myth?
No, I'm talking about there's only 2 ontological primitives to account for how we in the universe are here. It's either nature caused us or an intelligent designer caused us. That's my ontological basement.
There is a third one.
There isn't.
Well, the dramatic myth, which is that Maya, life is Maya, an illusion. That's another one, right?
No.
Well, I mean, it is.
No. How can that? It is. Okay. It is. That's an ipsy-dixit fallacy again. Right?
Okay, well, we'll call that the is fallacy. I committed the is fallacy.
Yeah, you did. How can a myth cause our existence?
I'm not sure what that question. It's not a well-defined question.
Well, you said that there were 3 ontological primitives. I said there were only 2. Either natural phenomena caused us or a creator caused us. You said no, there's a third one, a myth. So how can a myth cause us in the universe?
Okay, but if we have to back up slightly in the conversation there, because I asked what the metaphysical axioms which we all have in common are. And I think you might have conflated that with the ontological primitive. Yep. But metaphysical axiom just means like, you know what, water is wet, fire is hot, light goes in straight lines, that kind of stuff, right?
That's metaphysical.
Yeah. So what?
So water's wet is metaphysical.
Yeah. Do we all accept water is wet?
Refraction. It goes a bit crazy.
Oh goodness. Do you have any scientific evidence of your spinning ball religion? Go ahead.
Well, I don't know if I'd use the word religion, but I'll go with that for now. Yes, I just go at the beach and I can see that there's an island that is below the horizon.
Do you know what the scientific method requires?
Trust me, I do.
Oh, you do? Then tell us.
We're going to trust you on that. We're going to test you.
That's good. You got to test. That's exactly what the scientific method is. You demonstrated perfectly. You tested whether or not I do understand the scientific method.
Go ahead. What is it?
Very good.
So it's like I have a claim, right? I think my tree. I got a
No,
tree.
that's not the scientific method. Not your claim.
It is, sure
What's
it is.
the scientific method?
Tree out my Jesus, that's what it was.
Well,
Yeah,
but I think it's fair, John, just to hear him out, and then we can kind of.
I asked him a question. What's the scientific method? He said he knew it, and then he started going into a tree. There are no trees in the scientific method.
Oh man. Well, the scientific method is just like it's a curiosity is like the seed of like you have to open.
No, that's
a
philosophy.
question. Yeah, science.
Wiggles. Give an example.
I'd be interested.
Wiggles. Give a real world example of using the scientific method. Give something that has been demonstrated using the scientific method that you know of. Yeah.
So many things. Oh my god! Like, okay. I actually got a really interesting example there. So I play guitar, right? And there's this theory that guitar string, like, let's see if I can draw this out. It's so.
Is this the scientific method?
Yes, it is.
What is the scientific method, please? You said you knew it.
You pose a question and you find an answer. That's basically. But I mean, like, there's a lot to it.
No.
It's not like
There's a method. There's a method, right? That's a specific.
No, look, guys. Sorry, listen. So I'm not trying to. But what's happening is we flat earthers have this new understanding. Well, I don't know if it's new or not, but we have a clearer understanding of what science is. The ballers, they have an idea, and someone like Wiggles here is, he's trying to explain it how we've been taught. So this is why he needs to finish, and then we can either teach, correct, and put him right.
Okay? Spurs. Yeah, but Spurs. He said he knew what the scientific method was. I said, can you please tell us what the scientific method is? And he started off with trees.
Yeah, because you need examples to explain the scientific.
No, you don't. There's the method.
Yeah. Okay.
That
it's
is
best illustrated through example, right? So I got my guitar here.
No,
it's not. It's not illustrated through example. There's an actual description of the scientific method. It has steps. It's a process. That's why it's called a method. So what we're asking, in essence, is can you establish, for instance, the first step that you would take in that methodology?
Yeah. So I hypothesize that strings vibrate in various harmonics. So like it's like
that's not a hypothesis. So
it is so like here we go. So I get the big marker here we go.
No offense, but we've got about maybe 10 minutes left, and what we really want to get to is the nub of what it is that makes you believe that you live on a sphere. So far you've said boats over the horizon, which
so we'll do that instead.
We would like to know, like, how do you establish that boats going over the horizon is caused by the Earth being a globe?
Okay, so I will draw like a flat line here. Suppose the Earth is flat, and then I have the man standing here, and then the boat is right here. So, like, if the Earth is flat, right, you can always see it. Right? There's a straight line.
No, you can't.
Like,
well, hold on one second. You can't always see it. There's a lot of variables.
What about angular size?
What about refraction, the vanishing zone?
What about the inverse square law?
That is explained with the triangle, right? So if you have a right, like this is an angle, and this is the angular size. Like you just take, I'll just call this side X, and I'll call this Y, and I'll call that angle theta, and then theta equals arc tan.
Oh God,
it's backwards.
Let me ask you a question.
If you have a boat, how far do you think you could see it for? Forever? Or do you think there would come a time that it would actually become so small due to angular size that you wouldn't be able to see it?
Okay, that's a good question. And the answer to that is you just go out and observe. You just go out and see what happens.
This observation that you're pointing out, I've got to say, Wiggles, is probably the most debunked assertion you could ever make.
Oh, okay, you can say
we
that.
worked on this a lot, but
Well,
please
we've
do
done it on
come
this
back tomorrow.
We've done it.
So
We've
we
done,
can,
no.
can get into this
he says
more
I can just say that. No. This is episode 204, and I am so sick of boats because boats.
I don't blame you, man.
Right, I hate them. But fact, boats do not disappear over a curve. I can assert that quite happily.
Right, I'll just draw this picture while I'm here, right? Like, a blank sheet.
I didn't.
Are you aware of the concept of refraction? How light bends upwards, causing the vanishing zone?
This is great. This is this is the kind of thing why we're doing this. Okay, there are people out there who have come into this flat Earth and they're like, well, I can explain this. Flat Earthers are retards. They're morons, and I can give them answers.
We don't need just so stories, Spursky.
No, but this is great.
Scientific evidence.
Right.
I can give you a just so story. Invisible three-toed gnomes that have a chartreuse cover reflect the light in front of the ships, and we can't see them.
But this is a good illustration, John. So the guy comes on, he sounds reasonably intelligent and says he understands science. And when we say, give us your scientific proof of Earth curve, we get a triangle with some angles drawn on it, and this picture of boats going over a presupposed curve of the Earth, right? So this is a massive, massive fail. But when you ask someone for scientific proof, this is what you get.
This is the whole point. Someone of Wiggles' stature who's saying, well, I know science. I'm an engineer. Of course
Well, wait a second. Wait a second.
I actually agree with
Wait a second, Spurs. Engineering is not science.
It's applied science, yes.
It is not science at all.
I'm not saying that.
Hold on
this
a second.
The public will hear this guy.
Hold on a second. Henry Petrosky, professor of engineering and history at Duke University, has a whole paper on it. Engineering is not science. It's the title. Now,
but John, I understand his point.
Can you
his
give
point
us?
Is,
oh my!
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Listen, I asked him in the beginning, what is the scientific method? He said he knows the scientific method, and then I said, please tell us, and he said trees.
Yeah, so that's the only word you heard. I said a lot more words than trees. I said, in fact, a full sentence. You did not listen to the full sentence. You only listened to...
I didn't hear you.
Didn't need to, though. This is the problem, Wiggles, right? By definition, the way you started giving an example proves beyond doubt that you don't know what the scientific method is. And when we get to these gross errors and people saying, well, I can tell you what the scientific method is by example. No, you can't. It's a method. It's got steps. We just need to hear step 1, observe a phenomena. But you didn't say those words.
Yeah, okay, so step 1, like I had a really good... Do you mind if is it okay if I do my example?
Go ahead.
Yeah, let the guy make a fool
of himself.
No, exactly. Hold on, quickly. Do you think, but this is the whole point, when we hear like Mark Sargent, they say that the professionals don't come down here, they don't respond to the flat earthers. So for me, this is an example of an engineer coming down to answer directly the flat earthers.
Yeah, but we're not giving him time to breathe.
Well, exactly, that's my point. So this is, again, we have to understand that, I don't think he's trolling here. He genuinely thinks that he scientific method. So
I would like it if everybody calmed down a little and let him do his presentation.
Thank you, Ranty. Thank you.
Agreed.
Okay, I'll take that as I'll try my presentation. Okay, so we'll get a new blank slate. A blank sheet of paper. And so I take I'm just giving an example of the scientific method, which is just really interesting. Like, this has always interested me for years. You take a string, make it taut, and then just imagine this is a piece of string, right? And it's taut. It's like it's tight. I'm holding it here. I'm holding it here. Now it'll vibrate like in this way, right? And then there's another mode of vibration, which is the second harmonic. And you have the third harmonic, and so on. And then, I just happen to have a vibrating string right here. All right, so now I will play the various vibrations. Yeah, but so I'll play those individual harmonics like this. Right, so you can hear all the harmonics in there. That's an example of and I can calculate the frequencies of each one of these harmonics. And when you do that, like you can look up frequencies of musical notes, like vibrating strings with 2 notes, vibrating air columns, and you'll look up all that, and you'll find what I'm saying is 100% true and accurate and confirmed and has been put in the history books of science because it is 100% true.
Okay.
Now, I unloaded a hell of a lot of information there, but it's...
You effectively said science is true 100%.
Well, is not what I've shown true.
So what I'm asking is, because you can show that there are harmonics, and this is displayed in textbooks and educated throughout the land, and the globe Earth is also educated throughout the land, that is somehow an adherence to the scientific method? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not sure I understand your question. You said flat Earth and Earth at land. I'm not quite sure I understood your question.
Our question is fairly simple. I'll phrase it a little bit. I'll phrase it slightly elongated. We've only got a few minutes left, right? So you are under the impression that you live on a spinning ball flying through space, and
correct.
This assertion is not backed by any scientific evidence whatsoever. And for approximately 203, 204 shows, we have essentially asked to be provided with what 2,000 years of assumption has actually afforded anybody, including yourself, as proof that you actually do live on a spinning ball flying through space. The problem is that there is none, and your demonstration of how harmonics works is in no way a demonstration of how we live on a spinning sphere.
Well, yes, well, that was just a demonstration of the scientific method. If you want to see that the Earth is round, you have to go to the beach and look at a freaking ship. I'm sorry, man. That's like the experiment.
No, you're clearly uninformed. You haven't really watched the show.
It's not an experiment.
That's flat Earth 101, man.
Wiggles, please do come back tomorrow so we can get back into this and we can
hold on,
actually test you on your actual knowledge.
Hold on. Totally unreasonable. So you are under the assumption that in order to prove the Earth is a sphere, you as an individual need to go to the beach. Is that correct?
That's just one method. There's logic,
sorry. We've not got very long, so I just want to keep this. I want to keep this concise. So what I'm trying to get across to you
is founded on Aristotelian logic.
Right. I'm just trying to get across to you that
I just want to extract from that the notion of necessity and sufficiency. It is sufficient to do that boat experiment to prove the Earth is round. It's not necessary. It's only sufficient. There are many other sufficient experiments which will show that Earth is not flat.
Okay. That's not an experiment. Okay. And it's not sufficient.
It's not sufficient. One, it's not an experiment.
Okay, I'm sensing a lot of rejection of this. That's okay.
Sorry, let's because we don't have enough time to have lots of arguing and ridicule. So I just want to get this across for the audience because this is by far and away the most viewed debate we have ever had. Nearly 200 viewers. So we have this thing called the scientific method, and it is a way of demonstrating cause and effect. Yep. Your understanding of the scientific method is bananas. You think that you can go and just make an observation and extrapolate outer sphere Earth from it, and for you that's sufficient. The problem is it absolutely does not conform to any sort of scientific method whatsoever. It's not a confirmation of a sphere Earth. It can be and has been debunked on multiple occasions by people like people on the panel who have demonstrated that to be false. So that being the case, to simply assert that going forward, which was my point, you can go and observe this, that's not what I am asking for. I am saying that in 2,000 years, there has been this body of people who are claimed to be science. The body of science, scientists, have had 2,000 years to provide a proof. So you don't have to do anything, Wiggles. I'm asking what is out there already from the whole body of science that you can just go and reference and say, here is an experiment that proves we're on a sphere. Nothing to do with harmonics or going to the beach going forward. What in 2,000 years have we actually got that proves it with science? And I can answer that for you The answer is nothing. There
Okay,
is
so I
no
have to cut
scientific.
you off at this point. Why do you ask a question if you're not willing to listen to an answer?
We heard your answer. You said you could go to the beach, and we said that's
I
not an
have multiple answers.
Well, let's just stick with the first one because we haven't got time to go through ones that you haven't already gone through. So, unfortunately, that might be where we end the show anyway, as we've come up on 2 hours. So, unfortunately, it may be the case that we have to go through this at a later date. But it was a massive, brilliant, huge show. So, thank you very much to all who've joined. Let's see if I can get my camera on. So yeah, a massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of the panel for joining and making this debate possible. And of course, a massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and sharing this debate. Thank you also to all who hit the super chat. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!